This is the story of a man who had absolutely nothing. No money, no future, no hope. But in just 90 days, his entire life changed after discovering one simple secret. He started waking up at 5 a.m. every single morning, and what he did during those quiet, early hours completely transformed his future. Before this story begins, I want you to ask yourself one question. How many times have you promised yourself that you would change your life, only to hit the snooze button and go back to sleep? Because this is not just a story about waking up early. It is a story about discipline, purpose, and becoming the person you were meant to be. In a small industrial town where factories worked day and night, there lived a 32-year-old man named Thomas. Thomas worked as a night security guard at a massive warehouse on the edge of the city. Every evening at 8 p.m., he walked to work, and every morning at 6 a.m., exhausted and half asleep, he walked back home. His salary was barely enough to survive. He lived in a tiny one-room apartment with cracked walls and weak lights that flickered at night. The fan barely worked. His mattress was on the floor. His clothes were old, and his shoes had holes in them. But Thomas suffered from something far worse than poverty. He felt trapped. Every morning on his walk home, he watched the rest of the world waking up, children preparing for school, families eating breakfast together, men in clean office clothes heading toward better lives. Meanwhile, Thomas was going home to sleep through the entire day, and every morning, the same painful thought echoed in his mind. Will this be my life forever? He had tried to change his future many times. He applied for better jobs, but without a college degree, every door stayed closed. He wanted to learn new skills, but after working all night, he was too exhausted to do anything except sleep. His mother lived alone in a small village outside the city. She called him once every week, and every time she asked the same question with sadness in her voice. Thomas, when will your life finally get better? He always answered the same way. Soon, Mom. I'm trying. But deep down, he knew the truth. He had no idea how to escape the life he was living. Then one cold November morning, everything changed. Just as Thomas finished his shift, his phone rang. It was his sister. Thomas, Mom collapsed. She's in the hospital. His heart froze. He immediately took the first bus to his village. When he arrived at the small clinic, he found his mother lying weakly in bed. The doctor explained that stress, exhaustion, and years of hard labor had finally caught up with her. Thomas sat beside her quietly as she held his hand. Her voice was weak, but her words pierced directly into his soul. Please, my son, don't waste your life the way I wasted mine. Find a better way. That night, after she fell asleep, Thomas stepped outside the clinic. It was exactly 5 a.m. The sky was dark blue. The streets were silent. Cold air moved through the empty roads while a few farmers slowly walked toward their fields. And standing there in the quiet darkness before sunrise, something inside Thomas changed. Not sadness, not fear, determination. For the first time in years, he became angry at the life he had accepted. He whispered to himself, "No more. I refuse to live like this forever." On the bus ride back to the city, Thomas noticed a well-dressed man sitting across from him, reading a book calmly. The man looked successful, confident, peaceful. Thomas recognized him immediately. Mr. Chun, one of the most respected businessmen in town. What surprised Thomas most was the time. It was only 6 a.m. Curious, Thomas finally asked him, "Sir, why are you awake this early?" Mr. Chun smiled. Because the hours between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. are the most powerful hours of the day. Thomas listened carefully. Mr. Chun leaned closer and said, most people waste their mornings sleeping. Successful people use those hours to build their future while the world is still quiet. Then he asked Thomas about his life. When he learned that Thomas slept from 7 a.m. until late afternoon, he slowly nodded. You are living backwards, he said. You are awake when the world sleeps, and asleep when opportunities are moving. Then he gave Thomas one piece of advice that would change everything. Change your mornings, and you will change your life. Before leaving the bus, Mr. Chun handed Thomas a small card with his phone number written on it. If you are serious about changing your future, he said, call me tomorrow. The next day, for the first time in years, Thomas was awake during daylight hours. He met Mr. Chun at a quiet cafe. Mr. Chun pulled out a notebook and drew a simple house. Your life is like this house, he explained. Right now you are trying to survive inside it without building the foundation. Then he wrote a number on the paper, 730 hours. Thomas looked confused. Mr. Chun smiled. If you wake up 2 hours earlier every day, you gain 730 extra hours every year. That is equal to 3 extra months of self-improvement while everyone else is sleeping. For the first time, Thomas realized something powerful. The problem was not that he lacked time. The problem was how he used it. Then Mr. Chun gave him a system. From 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., learn a skill that can improve your financial future. From 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., improve your body and mind. Exercise, read, plan your future. Then came the rules. No negotiating with the alarm clock. Sleep by 9 p.m. and continue for 90 days no matter how difficult it becomes. The first week was torture. Thomas felt exhausted every morning. His body begged him to stay in bed. His mind created excuses constantly, but every time he wanted to quit, he remembered his mother lying in that hospital bed. So he kept going. Every morning at 5 a.m., he sat at a small table watching free Excel tutorials on YouTube. Slowly, he began learning accounting, spreadsheets, and data organization. At sunrise, he walked through the quiet streets while the rest of the city slept. And for the first time in years, he felt like his life was finally moving forward. By the second month, something incredible happened. His body adapted, his mind became sharper, his confidence grew stronger. He completed several online certificates in Excel and accounting. Even his co-workers noticed the difference. Thomas, one of them said, you look different lately. Thomas smiled. I'm rebuilding my life 2 hours at a time. Then came the moment that changed everything. During his third month, Thomas created a simple Excel system that organized the warehouse inventory better than anything the company had used before. When the warehouse manager saw it, he was shocked. Where did you learn this? He asked. Thomas answered proudly, I wake up at 5 a.m. every day and teach myself. A few days later, Thomas was called into the office. The manager looked at him and smiled. We are opening a position in the accounting department, day shift, double salary. The job is yours if you want it. Thomas stood there speechless. Just 90 days earlier, he had been a hopeless night guard. Now he finally had a future. That evening, he called Mr. Chun. I did it, Thomas said emotionally. I never miss a single morning. Mr. Chun laughed softly. I didn't change your life, Thomas. You changed it the moment you decided to wake up while everyone else stayed asleep. 1 year later, Thomas became the lead accountant of the company. He moved his mother into a comfortable apartment in the city and paid for her medical treatment. But one thing never changed. Every morning at exactly 5 a.m., Thomas still woke up. Not because he had to, because those quiet early hours had become sacred to him. That was where he learned. That was where he planned. That was where he built the next version of himself. And whenever people asked him, "Why do you still wake up so early? You've already succeeded." Thomas always smiled and answered with the same words. Success is not a destination. It is a daily practice. And now, the real question is not about Thomas. The question is about you. What could happen if you woke up tomorrow at 5 a.m. and spent just 2 hours every day building your future instead of escaping from it? Maybe you won't become rich overnight. Maybe success will not happen immediately, but you will become stronger, more disciplined, more focused. And that version of you can achieve things your current self cannot even imagine. Because the difference between successful people and everyone else is often very simple. They use the hours that others waste. Tomorrow morning, your alarm clock will ring, and in that moment, you will make a decision. Will you go back to sleep, or will you finally start building the life you deserve?